The spotlight cuts through the darkness of Carnegie Hall like a blade illuminating the concert grand piano that sits center stage. 2,000 seats filled with music critics, professors, students, and patrons of the arts. The kind of audience that can make or break a career with a single review. The kind of silence that vibrates with expectation. Tonight is Juilliard's end-of-year recital series. The prestigious showcase where the school's finest students demonstrate everything they've learned. Where futures are forged and dreams either take flight or shatter against the weight of impossibility. But the woman walking toward that Steinway piano isn't a fresh-faced prodigy in her 20s. She isn't the next rising star that talent scouts have been whispering about in the halls. She's Lorraine Parker, 67 years old. And until 2 years ago, she wasn't a student at Juilliard at all. She was the woman who cleaned its floors. How does a janitor end up on the most important stage in classical music? How does someone who spent 45 years pushing a mop cart stand before an audience that can detect a single missed note, a moment of hesitation, a breath out of place? This is that story. And it begins not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where dreams go to die. Detroit, Michigan, 1963. Lorraine Parker is 7 years old, walking home from school through streets that smell like factory smoke and broken promises. The riots are still years away, but you can already feel something breaking in the city. Her neighborhood sits in the shadow of automotive plants that are starting to close, leaving families like hers scrambling for work that pays enough to keep the lights on. Her mother works 3 jobs. Morning shift at the laundromat. Afternoon cleaning houses in the suburbs. Evenings serving food at a diner where the tips are small and the customers are often cruel. Lorraine rarely sees her except for those brief moments when her mother collapses into bed, too exhausted to even remove her shoes. But on this particular afternoon, something stops Lorraine on her walk home. Music. It drifts through an open window of a house she's never really noticed before. A grand Victorian home on the corner where the neighborhood starts to transition from poverty to something that looks like prosperity. The kind of house with manicured lawns and cars that aren't held together with rust and prayer. The music is unlike anything Lorraine has ever heard. It cascades through the air like water, like light, like something alive and breathing. Notes that seem to tell stories without words. Emotions that she doesn't have names for yet, but can feel in her chest like a second heartbeat. She stands there for 20 minutes, completely still, barely breathing, afraid that any movement might break whatever spell has been cast. Later she'll learn that what she heard was Chopin. A nocturne in E-flat major. But in that moment, she doesn't need to know its name. She only knows that something inside her has woken up. Something that recognizes that music the way a seed recognizes sunlight. That night, she asks her mother about piano lessons. Her mother's face does something complicated, something between sadness and guilt, and a love so fierce it hurts to look at. "Baby," she says softly, "we can't afford that. We can barely afford food." But she sees the look in Lorraine's eyes. That hunger that has nothing to do with an empty stomach. Tell you what her mother says. The church has an old piano in the basement. Nobody plays it anymore. Maybe you can practice there. Can't pay for lessons, but you can teach yourself, if you want it bad enough. Lorraine wants it bad enough. For the next 11 years, Lorraine's education happens in stolen moments and borrowed spaces. The church basement becomes her sanctuary. She sneaks in after school when the building is mostly empty, except for the elderly custodian who pretends not to notice. The piano is out of tune, and missing 3 keys, but to Lorraine it might as well be a Steinway in Carnegie Hall. She has no sheet music, no instructor, no formal training. What she has is her ears and an obsessive determination that borders on possession. She listens to records at the public library, classical music that she checks out and plays on the donated record player in the children's section, headphones pressed tight against her ears while she memorizes every note. Then she runs to the church and tries to recreate what she's heard. Trial and error. Hours and hours of her fingers searching for the right keys, the right pressure, the right feeling. By the time she's 14, she can play Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata from memory. Not perfectly, not the way it should be played, but close enough that the elderly custodian sometimes sits on the stairs to listen. By 16, she's teaching herself Mozart, Debussy, Rachmaninoff. The great composers become her teachers, speaking to her across centuries through their music. Her high school music teacher, Mrs. Henderson, hears her play once at a school assembly. Afterwards, she pulls Lorraine aside, her hand trembling slightly as she grips Lorraine's shoulder. "You have a gift," Mrs. Henderson says. "A real gift. Have you thought about music school Juilliard, Curtis, Berkeley? With training with the right instruction, you could be extraordinary." Lorraine has thought about it. Of course she has. It's the only thing she thinks about. But thinking about something and being able to afford it are 2 different continents with an ocean of impossibility between them. Still misses. Henderson doesn't give up. She helps Lorraine apply for scholarships. They record audition tapes on borrowed equipment. They fill out financial aid forms until Lorraine's hand cramps from writing. And then miraculously, it happens. Wayne State University offers her a partial scholarship. Not Juilliard, not the dream, but a door that's slightly cracked open. A chance to study music, even if she'll have to work full-time to afford the rest of her tuition. She's 18 years old, and for the first time in her life, the future looks like something other than survival. And then her mother dies. Heart attack. Sudden. The kind of death that doesn't give you time to say goodbye or make things right, or tell someone how much they meant to you. One day, Lorraine's mother is serving coffee and wiping down tables. The next day, she's gone, leaving behind 3 younger children and debts that swallow the tiny life insurance policy like stones dropped in a vast ocean. Lorraine is the oldest. There's no one else. Her father left when she was 4. Her grandmother is too old and too sick to take on 3 children. There are no aunts or uncles with spare rooms or spare resources. The choice isn't really a choice at all. She turns down the scholarship. She gets a job. Actually, she gets 3 jobs, just like her mother before her. Because cycles are hard to break, and poverty has a gravity all its own. She works as a cashier at a grocery store. She cleans offices at night. She takes in laundry from her neighbors' washing and ironing clothes for a few dollars that she stretches as far as they'll go. Her siblings need food, clothes, school supplies, medicine when they're sick. They need someone to make sure they do their homework and show up to parent-teacher conferences and remember that they're loved even when the world seems determined to prove otherwise. The piano becomes something she thinks about the way you think about a person who died too young, with longing and regret and the particular pain of unfinished business. For 45 years, this is Lorraine Parker's life. She raises her siblings, puts them through school, watches them build lives and families of their own. She works, she survives, she gets older. The jobs change, but they're always the same essential thing. Cleaning, serving, the invisible work that keeps the world running while being completely overlooked by the people who benefit from it. She cleans offices, schools, hospitals, hotels. She wipes down desks and scrubs toilets and empties trash cans filled with the discarded pieces of other people's lives. Her hands become rough. Her knees develop arthritis from kneeling on hard floors. Her back develops a permanent ache that ibuprofen can only dull, never eliminate. But here's the thing about Lorraine. The thing that will matter later when everything changes. Wherever she works, she finds the music. She takes jobs at concert halls so she can hear performances through closed doors. She works at schools with music programs so she can listen to students practice after hours. She times her cleaning schedule around rehearsals, around recitals, around any moment when someone might play piano, and she might be able to stop what she's doing and just listen. Her coworkers think it's strange. This woman in her 60s, standing perfectly still outside a practice room, mop in hand, tears sometimes running down her face. But Lorraine isn't crying from sadness. She's crying because even though she never got to live her dream, the dream itself never died. It just went underground, waiting, hibernating, surviving on scraps of music overheard through walls and cracks in doors. And then, at 65 years old, working as a janitor at Juilliard School of Music, Lorraine Parker's hibernating dream wakes up. It's 11:30 on the Tuesday night in October. Lorraine has been working at Juilliard for 2 years, and the job is both torture and paradise. Torture, because she's surrounded by students living the life she never got to have. Paradise, because she's surrounded by music, by the constant sound of pianos and violins, and voices training to reach perfection. She's learned the building's rhythms, knows which practice rooms stay occupied until midnight and which ones empty out by 9. Knows which students are disciplined and which ones are coasting on talent. Knows where every piano is located and what it sounds like. Tonight she's cleaning the 4th floor. Most of the practice rooms are dark and locked. The building has that particular silence that only comes late at night in places that are usually filled with noise. But as she pushes her cart past practice room 4C, she stops. The door is unlocked. The light is off. And inside, barely visible in the darkness, is a Yamaha grand piano. Lorraine has cleaned this room hundreds of times. She's stood in the doorway and listened to students fumble through scales, massacre Mozart, occasionally produce something beautiful. But she's never touched the piano herself. Staff aren't allowed to use the instruments. It's one of the few rules that's actually enforced. The pianos are for students and faculty only. But tonight, something is different. Maybe it's because she's tired. Maybe it's because earlier today, she turned 65 and couldn't help calculating how many years she might have left. Maybe it's because she heard a student playing Rachmaninoff earlier, and it stirred something in her that won't settle back down. She looks down the hallway. Empty. She can hear a violin in a distant practice room, but otherwise the floor is silent. Just once, she thinks. Just to remember what it feels like. She sets down her mop, steps into the room, sits down at the bench. Her hands are shaking as she lifts them to the keys. They're working hands now. Rough. Scarred from years of cleaning chemicals. The arthritis in her knuckles flares in cold weather. She's wearing yellow rubber gloves because she was in the middle of scrubbing bathrooms. She removes the gloves slowly, places them on the bench beside her. And then, after 45 years of silence, Lorraine Parker begins to play. The piece that comes out of her isn't perfect. Her fingers are stiff from decades of disuse. Her timing is off in places. She hits wrong notes, has to stop and start again, frustrated by the gap between what she hears in her head and what her hands can produce. But Professor Sarah Mitchell, walking down the hallway with an armful of graded papers, stops dead in her tracks. Mitchell has been teaching at Juilliard for 23 years. She's heard thousands of students from the merely talented to the genuinely gifted. She knows the difference between someone who's been well-trained and someone who has that indefinable quality that can't be taught. What she's hearing right now is raw. rough around the edges, technically imperfect. But it's also full of something that most of her students lack: an emotional depth that only comes from living, from suffering, from years of longing channeled into sound. She follows the music to practice room 4C, sees through the small window in the door a woman in a janitor's uniform playing a Chopin nocturne with tears streaming down her face. Mitchell stands there for 5 minutes, barely breathing, listening. When the music stops, she opens the door. Lorraine spins around, terrified. She's been caught. She'll be fired. She knows the rules. She starts to stammer an apology, already reaching for her gloves, her mop, her escape. "Wait," Mitchell says. Just that one word, but spoken with such gentle authority that Lorraine freezes. Mitchell steps into the room. "How long have you been playing?" "I haven't," Lorraine says. "I mean, I used to, a long time ago." "I'm sorry, I know I'm not supposed to." "How long ago?" 45 years. Mitchell's eyebrows rise. "And you taught yourself?" Lorraine nods, waiting for the anger, the dismissal, the inevitable consequence. Instead, Mitchell sits down on the bench beside her. "Play something else." "Professor, I really should. Please." There's something in Mitchell's voice. Not pity, not curiosity, something closer to reverence. So Lorraine plays, a piece she learned when she was 16, listening to a scratched library record over and over until she could reproduce it from memory. Debussy, Clair de Lune. When she finishes, Mitchell is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, "Have you ever heard of our adult learner program?" Lorraine shakes her head. "It's for exceptional students who come to music later in life. Usually people who had careers in other fields but always had musical training. We don't get many applicants and we accept even fewer." Mitchell pauses. "I think you should audition." Lorraine actually laughs. "It's not a happy sound. I'm 65 years old. I clean toilets for a living. I don't belong here." "Talent doesn't have an expiration date," Mitchell says. "And it doesn't care about job titles. What you just played with, no practice for 45 years. That's not something that can be taught. That's something you're born with. I can't afford. There are scholarships, financial aid. I'll help you with the applications." Mitchell stands, pulls out a business card, writes her personal cell phone number on the back. "Think about it. But don't think too long. The audition deadline is in 2 weeks." She leaves Lorraine sitting at the piano holding a business card that feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. Lorraine doesn't sleep for the next 2 weeks. During the day, she works her janitorial shifts. At night, she sneaks into practice rooms and plays until her fingers cramp and her back screams, and the arthritis in her hands flares so badly she has to ice them for an hour before she can grip a mop again. Mitchell lends her sheet music. Real printed scores, not library records she has to memorize. For the first time in her life, Lorraine learns to read music properly, translating those dots and lines into sound. The audition requirements are simple. Prepare 2 pieces from different periods. Demonstrate technical proficiency and musical understanding. Convince the admissions committee that you deserve a spot in one of the most competitive music programs in the world. Simple, right? The audition is held in one of Juilliard's smaller recital halls. 5 people sit behind a long table, their faces professionally neutral. Mitchell is there, but she's recused herself from voting due to their relationship. In the center of the panel is Professor David Bennett, Dean of Piano Studies. 60 years old, with silver hair and the kind of face that looks like it's never smiled without calculation. He's legendary at Juilliard, both for his brilliance as a teacher and for his exacting, sometimes cruel standards. He looks at Lorraine's application, Then at Lorraine herself, standing in the doorway in the only dress she owns, which she bought at a thrift store that morning. "Ms. Parker," he says, his voice carrying the particular condescension of someone who's already made up his mind. "I see you're 65 years old with no formal musical training. Can you explain why you believe you belong in a program designed for serious musicians?" Lorraine's hands are shaking. She wants to run. Every instinct tells her she doesn't belong here, that this is a mistake, that she should go back to her mops and her invisible life. But then she remembers something her mother used to say. "Baby being underestimated is a gift. It means they won't see you coming." She lifts her chin. "I don't know if I belong here," she says quietly. "But I know I love music more than anyone in this room. And I know I've spent 45 years earning the right to try." Bennett's expression doesn't change. "Proceed." Lorraine walks to the piano. Her first piece is Bach, Prelude in C major from the Well-Tempered Clavier. She chose it because it's beautiful in its simplicity, because it requires precision and clarity, both of which she's been working on. Her fingers find the keys. The first notes are tentative, but then muscle memory takes over. Muscle memory from when she was 16 and practicing on an out-of-tune church piano, believing she could be something other than what the world told her she was. The Bach flows out of her. Not perfect. She can hear the places where her technique is rough, where formal training would have smoothed out the edges. But it's honest. It's her. When she finishes, the room is silent. She can't read their faces. "Second piece," Bennett says flatly. Her second piece is Chopin, the same nocturne in E-flat major that she heard through a window when she was 7 years old. The piece that started everything. She plays it the way she always imagined she would if she ever got the chance. With every ounce of longing and loss and stubborn, foolish hope that's kept her alive through 45 years of disappointment. When the last note fades, she sits perfectly still, waiting. Bennett leans forward. "Your technique is inconsistent at best. Your posture is wrong. You have no formal understanding of music theory. You're starting at an age when most serious pianists are considering retirement." He pauses. "I see no reason to accept you into this program." Lorraine's heart plummets. Of course this was too much to hope for. But then Mitchell speaks up. "David, she's self-taught. Imagine what she could do with proper instruction." "I'm not interested in imagining Bennett snaps. I'm interested in results. This program has standards." Another professor, Dr. Chen, clears her throat. "The adult learner program exists precisely for cases like this. Exceptional talent discovered late." Exceptional. Bennett scoffs. She plays like someone who learned from library records, because that's exactly what she is. The room erupts into argument. 3 professors for 2 against. Mitchell can't vote, but she's practically vibrating with the effort to stay silent. Finally, the committee takes a vote. 3-2. Lorraine Parker is accepted into Juilliard School of Music as the oldest student in the institution's 119-year history. Bennett votes no, and makes sure Lorraine knows it. "You'll be in my piano performance seminar," he tells her as she's leaving. "I'll be watching you. And the moment you prove me right about this being a mistake, I'll personally recommend your dismissal." Lorraine should feel intimidated, should feel scared. Instead, she feels something she hasn't felt in 45 years. She feels like a musician. Lorraine's first day as a Juilliard student begins at 4 in the morning. She still works as a janitor, still needs the income to pay for the portion of tuition that her scholarship doesn't cover. Her schedule is brutal. Clean from 4 a.m. to noon. Grab lunch. Change out of her uniform in the staff bathroom. Attend classes from 1 p.m. to 6. Practice until the building closes at midnight. Sleep for a few hours. Repeat. Her classmates are between 18 and 22 years old. They've been playing since they were children. They have parents who could afford private instructors and summer music camps and instruments that cost more than Lorraine makes in a year. They also have never cleaned a toilet in their lives. The first time Lorraine walks into piano performance seminar, still wearing her janitorial ID badge, because she forgot to take it off, the silence is deafening. 20 young faces turn to stare at her, some confused, some amused, all of them wondering what the janitor is doing in their advanced seminar. "Take a seat," Ms. Parker Bennett says from the front of the room. He doesn't introduce her, doesn't explain. Just watches with those cold eyes as she finds an empty chair in the back. The class is discussing Liszt, Hungarian rhapsodies, technical demands, historical context, interpretive approaches. Bennett calls on students randomly asking questions designed to expose gaps in knowledge. When he gets to Lorraine, his question is deliberately complex. "Ms. Parker, can you explain the difference between Liszt's virtuosic style and Chopin's more lyrical approach, specifically in how they utilized rubato?" Lorraine doesn't know the term rubato, doesn't know music theory vocabulary, but she knows what she's heard, what she's felt. "I don't know the technical term," she says slowly, "but when I listen to Liszt, it feels like showing off. Like, look what I can do. When I listen to Chopin, it feels like telling secrets. Like the music is bending time to make you feel something." A few students snicker. Bennett's expression doesn't change. "That's not an answer," he says. "That's poetry. This is a music theory class. Try again." But Lorraine doesn't know the right words. She sits there, face burning, while Bennett moves on to another student who rattles off a perfect technical explanation. After class, a few students approach her. "That was kind of beautiful, actually," one girl says. "What you said about Chopin." "It was wrong," Lorraine says. "Maybe, but I'll remember it. Her name is Emily. She's 19 from Connecticut, and she has the kind of casual confidence that comes from never having to worry about money or belonging. She's also, Lorraine will learn, unexpectedly kind. But most students aren't like Emily. Most students don't know what to make of Lorraine. This older woman who shows up to class with chemical burns on her hands and falls asleep during lectures because she's been awake since 4 a.m. She doesn't fit. And Juilliard is not a place that tolerates things that don't fit. If Lorraine thought the audition was the hard part, she was catastrophically wrong. Bennett seems to take her acceptance as a personal insult, an affront to everything he believes about music education, about standards, about who deserves to be at Juilliard. He assigns her pieces that are beyond her current technical ability. When she struggles, he points it out in front of the entire class. "This is what happens when we lower our standards," he says after she fumbles through a Beethoven sonata. "Ms. Parker, you're wasting everyone's time, including your own." He critiques her posture, her hand position, her pedaling, her dynamics. Some of the criticism is valid. Much of it is cruel. Your fingers are too stiff, probably from all those years scrubbing floors. Maybe you should stick to what you're good at. The other students don't know where to look. Emily tries to defend Lorraine once, and Bennett shuts her down so viciously that she doesn't try again. Lorraine takes it all in silence, goes back to her practice room, works twice as hard. But Bennett is relentless. He schedules mandatory evening rehearsals, knowing full well that Lorraine works until noon and is exhausted by evening. When she struggles to stay awake, he makes a show of it. "Am I boring you, Ms. Parker?" "No, Professor. I apologize. Perhaps if you slept more and pretended less, you'd be able to handle the demands of this program." "Yes, Professor." Mitchell tries to intervene, but Bennett outranks her, and he's careful to never quite cross the line into actionable harassment. He's just exacting, just maintaining standards, just doing his job. After 3 months, Lorraine has lost 15 pounds. Her hands hurt constantly from the combination of cleaning chemicals and excessive practice. She's surviving on 4 hours of sleep and coffee that tastes like regret. Her classmates have mostly stopped trying to connect with her. She's too different, too old, too exhausting to be around because her very presence seems to make Bennett angrier, and his anger splashes onto everyone. Only Emily still makes an effort, saves Lorraine a seat in class, shares notes when Lorraine falls asleep during lectures, doesn't ask questions when Lorraine shows up with new bruises from slipping while mopping floors from banging into equipment while too tired to pay attention. "Why do you keep going?" Emily asks one day. He's never going to let up. "You know that, right?" Lorraine is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, "When I was 7, I heard music for the first time. Really heard it. And I knew that was what I was supposed to do with my life. I'm 65 years old, and I finally get to do it. Professor Bennett can make it hard, but he can't make it not worth it." Emily doesn't understand. Not really. She's 19 and talented and has never had to fight for anything. But she nods anyway. "I hope I still love music that much when I'm your age." "You will," Lorraine says, "if you remember why you started." But loving something doesn't make it easy. And eventually, even the strongest people reach their limit. Month 4. February in New York. The kind of cold that makes Lorraine's arthritis flare so badly she can barely hold a mop, let alone play piano. She's in Bennett's class. They're preparing for mid-year evaluations where each student performs a piece for the faculty. The evaluations determine who continues in the program and who gets cut. Bennett assigns Lorraine a Rachmaninoff prelude, one of the more technically demanding pieces in the repertoire. "I thought we'd see what you're actually capable of," he says with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "You have 3 weeks. 3 weeks to learn a piece that would normally take months. 3 weeks while working 40 hours and sleeping 4 hours a night and trying to keep up with her other classes." Lorraine practices until her fingers bleed. Literally, the skin splits at the knuckles from the combination of dryness, cold, and repetitive motion. She bandages them and keeps playing. She practices in pain, through exhaustion, through moments where she can't remember why she thought this was a good idea. Her performance at the mid-year evaluation is a disaster, not because she doesn't know the piece, but because her hands simply can't do what her brain is telling them to do. The arthritis has gotten too bad. The fatigue too deep. She makes it through 2 minutes before her hands cramp so severely she has to stop. The silence in the performance hall is mortifying. Bennett doesn't even look disappointed. He looks satisfied, like he's been waiting for this moment. "Thank you, Ms. Parker," he says. "That will be sufficient. Sufficient to fail her, he means." After the evaluation, Lorraine goes to the bathroom and throws up from stress and pain. Then she sits in a stall and cries quietly, trying not to make noise, because even her grief feels like something she doesn't have a right to take up space with. When she finally emerges, her eyes red and swollen, she goes to her locker to get her janitorial uniform. She's done. She knows it. The evaluation was the final proof that Bennett was right. She doesn't belong here. She's too old, too uneducated, too damaged from a lifetime of hard physical labor. She writes her letter of withdrawal that night, types it on a computer at the public library because she doesn't own one, prints it, folds it, puts it in an envelope addressed to the Dean of Admissions. Tomorrow she'll deliver it. Tonight, she allows herself one last night of pretending she's a musician. But Professor Sarah Mitchell has been watching, and Mitchell doesn't give up easily. She sees the withdrawal letter in Lorraine's bag when Lorraine sets it down to clean Mitchell's office. Doesn't say anything, just notes the addressed envelope. That evening, Mitchell shows up at Lorraine's apartment, a tiny studio in Queens that Lorraine can barely afford even with her job and financial aid. Lorraine opens the door, sees her professor standing there, and immediately knows she's been caught. "I'm sorry," she says. "I was going to tell you tomorrow. I didn't want to waste any more of your time." "Can I come in?" Mitchell asks. They sit at Lorraine's small kitchen table. The apartment is painfully clean but sparsely furnished. A hot plate, a mini fridge, a mattress on the floor, no piano because there's no space and no money for one. "Tell me what happened," Mitchell says. And Lorraine does. All of it. The exhaustion, the pain, the constant humiliation, the evaluation where her body simply gave out. "He was right," Lorraine says. "I'm too old for this. I should have known better than to think I could do it." Mitchell is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, "Can I tell you a story?" Lorraine nods. "When I was 25, I auditioned to be the assistant conductor for the New York Philharmonic. I was the only woman who auditioned. I was also the most qualified. Perfect scores from Juilliard. Studied in Vienna. Multiple competition wins. I didn't just want the job, I deserved it. The head of the committee told me I was very talented. Said I'd be a wonderful teacher someday. Said women make excellent music teachers. Then he gave the position to a man with half my credentials. I was furious, humiliated. I went home and cried for 3 days. Then I decided to quit music entirely. What was the point if they'd never let me conduct? My own mentor found me much like I'm finding you now. And she said something I've never forgotten. She said, "They're betting you'll quit. They're counting on it. The question is, are you going to prove them right?" Mitchell leans forward. "David Bennett is betting you'll quit, Lorraine. He's been betting on it since the day you auditioned. Every cruel comment, every impossible assignment, every public humiliation, it's all designed to make you give up. Because if you succeed, it means he was wrong. And people like Bennett would rather die than admit they were wrong." "But I failed the evaluation," Lorraine says. "My hands. Your hands were in pain because you've been working yourself to death. Your hands cramped because you're suffering from physical exhaustion, and you haven't had a single day off in 4 months. Your hands failed you because you're trying to do the work of 3 people on your own." Mitchell pulls out a piece of paper. "This is a list of physical therapists who specialize in musicians with arthritis. This is a list of scholarships I think you qualify for so you can quit your janitorial job. This is my phone number. You call me when you're in pain, when you're overwhelmed, when Bennett makes you want to quit. You don't go through this alone anymore." Lorraine stares at the papers. At this woman who barely knows her, but is offering a lifeline anyway. "Why do you care?" Lorraine whispers. "Because 35 years ago someone cared about me," Mitchell says. "Because talent like yours doesn't come along often, and I'll be damned if I let David Bennett destroy it out of spite. Because you're not doing this for him. You're doing this for that little girl in Detroit who heard Chopin through a window and knew she was meant for more." Mitchell stands. "The mid-year evaluation isn't final. You get 1 re-evaluation. I've already scheduled it for you, 2 weeks from now. Same piece. And between now and then, you're not cleaning a single floor. You're going to rest, heal, and remember why you started." She leaves before Lorraine can argue. That night, Lorraine tears up her withdrawal letter. The next 2 weeks are different. Mitchell wasn't exaggerating about the scholarship. She'd been working on the application for weeks, apparently. Full scholarship covering tuition and living expenses. Lorraine can quit her janitorial job, can sleep more than 4 hours a night, can focus entirely on music for the first time in her life. The physical therapist teaches her exercises for her hands. Anti-inflammatory protocols. How to practice without causing damage. Proper technique to reduce strain. And Mitchell herself gives Lorraine private instruction. Every evening, 2 hours of focused patient teaching. You've been playing from memory and feeling, Mitchell explains. Which works until it doesn't. Now I'm going to teach you the structure underneath the emotion. The theory that supports the instinct. For the first time, Lorraine learns music the way it's supposed to be taught, learns why certain progressions work, learns the vocabulary she's been missing. learns how to read not just the notes, but the intention behind them. Her playing transforms. The raw emotion is still there that can't be taught, but now it's supported by technique, by understanding, by the kind of foundation that turns a gifted amateur into a serious musician. The reevaluation is held on a Friday afternoon. Same faculty panel, same Bennett sitting in the center with his arms crossed. Lorraine walks to the piano. Her hands are still bandaged, but the pain has receded from unbearable to manageable. She's slept, eaten properly, had time to practice without simultaneously destroying her body. She plays the Rachmaninoff prelude. And this time she doesn't just play it, she inhabits it. Every note is deliberate. Every dynamic shift is intentional. She plays with the confidence of someone who finally understands what she's doing. When she finishes, the room is silent. Bennett's face is unreadable. Dr. Chen speaks first. That was remarkable. Another professor nods. I concur. Well done, Miss Parker. Bennett says nothing for a long moment. Then, you pass, barely. It's not praise, but it's not failure either. Lorraine walks out of that evaluation with her head high. She's still at Juilliard, still a musician, still refusing to quit. Bennett watches her go, and for the first time there's something in his expression that might almost be respect, or might just be the beginning of his realization that Lorraine Parker isn't going anywhere. The end-of-year recital at Juilliard is more than just a performance. It's a statement, a declaration of who you are as a musician and what you're capable of becoming. Each student chooses their own piece. Something that showcases their strengths, demonstrates their growth, proves they deserve to be there. Most students choose wisely. Pick something impressive but manageable, something that will earn good marks without too much risk. Lorraine Parker does not choose wisely. She's in Mitchell's office when she makes the announcement. I want to play Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, she says. Mitchell actually laughs, then realizes Lorraine is serious. That's one of the most technically demanding pieces in the repertoire. Even our best students struggle with it. I know. It requires an orchestra, or at least a recorded accompaniment. I know. It's 40 minutes long. Your hands, I know. Lorraine meets Mitchell's eyes. My mother loved that piece. She heard it on the radio once when I was a kid. She said it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever heard. Said someday she hoped she'd hear me play it. She never did. She died before I could. And I've spent 45 years wishing I could play it for her even though she's gone. Mitchell is quiet. Then, this isn't about proving something to Bennett, is it? No, Lorraine says. It's about keeping a promise to someone who never got to see me keep it. Mitchell sighs, runs a hand through her hair. Okay. We have 6 months. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. I'll arrange for the recorded orchestra accompaniment. But Lorraine, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. Good, Lorraine says. I'm tired of easy being impossible. Time to make impossible possible. Training for the Rachmaninoff Concerto is like training for a marathon, while also learning a new language, while also solving a complex mathematical equation. It's not just playing notes. It's synchronizing with an orchestral accompaniment. It's maintaining emotional intensity for 40 minutes. It's technical precision, while also conveying the sweeping romanticism that makes Rachmaninoff so beloved. Lorraine's schedule becomes monastic in its discipline. 4 a.m. Wake up. Hand exercises and stretches. 5 a.m. Breakfast. Review score. 6 a.m. practice. slow, methodical work on the most technically difficult passages. Noon break. Physical therapy exercises. Ice hands. 1 p.m. Practice with recorded orchestra. Work on synchronization. 6 p.m. Dinner. Rest. 7 p.m. Session with Mitchell. Work on interpretation dynamics, musical understanding. 10 p.m. Final practice. Run through full sections. Midnight sleep. Repeat for 6 months. Her hands bleed sometimes. The skin at her knuckles splits from the repetitive motion. She bandages them and keeps playing. Her back aches from hours at the bench. She does physical therapy and keeps playing. Her eyes strain from reading sheet music. She gets reading glasses and keeps playing. The other students start to notice the change in her. She's no longer the uncertain woman who fell asleep in class. She's focused, driven, present in a way that demands respect. Emily watches Lorraine practice one day, standing in the doorway of the practice room. "How do you do it?" she asks. "I mean, I complain when I have to practice 3 hours a day. You practice 8, 9 hours. And you're older. Doesn't it hurt?" Lorraine stops playing, looks at her hands. They're scarred and bandaged and show every one of her 66 years. "Everything worth doing hurts," she says. "The question isn't whether it hurts. The question is whether it's worth the pain." Is it Lorraine thinks about her mother, about 45 years of cleaning floors and swallowing dreams, about the little girl in Detroit who stood outside a window and heard her future in a Chopin nocturne. "Yeah," she says. It is. Something strange starts happening around month 4 of Lorraine's preparation. The other students stop seeing her as an oddity, start seeing her as an inspiration. Emily starts arriving at the practice rooms earlier. "If Lorraine can put in 8 hours, I can do 4, she tells her friends. A sophomore named James, who's been coasting on natural talent, watches Lorraine work through a difficult passage 50 times until she gets it right. He starts practicing with the same discipline. Even some of the faculty start taking notice. The transformation from uncertain amateur to serious musician is impossible to ignore. But Bennett remains unmoved. If anything, Lorraine's improvement seems to make him more hostile. He never compliments her work, never acknowledges her progress. When other professors praise her in faculty meetings, he dismisses it. Temporary improvement, he says. She'll collapse under the pressure of the actual performance. Mark my words. Mitchell confronts him after one such meeting. "Why do you hate her so much?" she asks. "What did she ever do to you?" Bennett is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "I had a sister. Brilliant musician. Could have been extraordinary. But she got married young, had children, and gave it all up. Spent her life wondering what might have been. She died 5 years ago, still wondering, still regretting. And now this janitor comes along, having already wasted her life wanting a second chance she doesn't deserve. It's an insult to everyone who made the right choices." "The right choices," Mitchell repeats. "You mean the choices you approved of. I mean the serious choices, the committed choices. Lorraine is more committed than half our students. She's worked harder than anyone I've ever taught." "Hard work doesn't make up for lost time," Bennett snaps. She's 66 years old. Even if she succeeds here, what then? A few good years before age catches up with her, it's a waste of resources, a waste of a spot that could have gone to someone with a real future. Maybe Mitchell says quietly, "Your sister didn't waste her life. Maybe she made the choice that was right for her. And maybe you're punishing Lorraine for your sister's regrets, which isn't fair to either of them." Bennett doesn't answer, just walks away. But Mitchell's words burrow into him like a splinter, uncomfortable, impossible to ignore. The night before the recital, Lorraine can't sleep. She's in her apartment, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her hands are bandaged. Her body aches. Tomorrow night, she'll step onto the stage at Carnegie Hall and attempt something that even talented 20-year-olds struggle with. She's terrified. Not of failing. She's failed before. Failure is familiar. She's terrified of succeeding, of having this moment and knowing it might be her only one, of proving that she could have been something if life had been different, if she'd had money, if her mother hadn't died, if 45 years hadn't been stolen by necessity. Her phone rings. It's Mitchell. Can't sleep. Mitchell asks, "How did you know?" "Because I can't sleep either. I'm nervous for you." They talk for an hour. About music, about life, about the strange paths that lead people to their moments of truth. Whatever happens tomorrow, Mitchell says you've already succeeded. You came back to music after 45 years. You completed a program that breaks people a third your age. You've played with more heart than anyone I've ever taught. The recital is just the final note. The music you've already made is what matters. After they hang up, Lorraine gets out of bed, opens her laptop, a used one that Mitchell helped her buy. She writes an email to her siblings, to the nieces and nephews she raised, to the co-workers from all those years of janitorial work. The subject line is simple: tomorrow. The body of the email is even simpler. I'm playing piano at Carnegie Hall tomorrow night. It's something Mama always wanted to hear. I wish she could be there. But I hope you can. I know it's short notice. I know it seems impossible. But then again, everything about this has been impossible. Love, Lorraine. She doesn't expect anyone to come. They all have lives, responsibilities, reasons they can't drop everything for a concert. She sends the email anyway. Then she goes to her small table where she's taped a photograph. Her mother, young and smiling from before life ground her down to exhaustion. "Tomorrow's for you," Mama Lorraine whispers. "Everything I couldn't say. Everything you never got to hear. It's all in this music. I hope somehow you'll know." She finally falls asleep around 4 a.m., dreaming of pianos and mothers and second chances that arrive 45 years too late, but right on time. The day of the recital arrives with cruel, perfect weather. Bright sunshine, clear skies, the kind of day that makes everything feel significant. Lorraine spends the morning in a fog of nervousness and preparation. Hand exercises, light practice, reviewing the score one more time, even though she could play it in her sleep. Mitchell picks her up at 5 p.m. The recital is at 8. They need time to get to Carnegie Hall for Lorraine to warm up to settle her nerves. In the car, Mitchell hands her a box. "I bought you something," she says. Inside is a black dress. Simple, elegant, beautiful. The kind of dress Lorraine could never afford on her own. "You didn't have to. I wanted to. Every musician deserves to look the part for their Carnegie Hall debut." Carnegie Hall debut. The words sound surreal. When they arrive, Lorraine is ushered backstage. The other students are there, waiting for their performances. The recital features 5 students total, each playing a different piece. Lorraine is scheduled last. The closing performance. The pressure of that is enormous. Emily finds her backstage. "I'm playing third," she says. "Beethoven. I'm so nervous I might throw up." "You'll be amazing," Lorraine says. "You'll be legendary," Emily replies. The performances begin. Lorraine listens from the wings as her classmates play. They're all good. Some are extraordinary. The audience, filled with faculty, students, critics, and classical music enthusiasts, responds with appropriate applause. Then it's Lorraine's turn. The stage manager touches her shoulder. "You're up, Ms. Parker." Lorraine stands. Her legs feel like water. Her hands are shaking. Mitchell is there, suddenly pulling her into a hug. "Just tell your story through the keys," she whispers. "That's all you've ever needed to do." Lorraine walks toward the stage. The moment before she steps into the light, she pauses. takes a breath, thinks about everyone who brought her to this moment. Her mother who worked herself to death so her children could survive. The 7-year-old girl standing outside a window hearing magic for the first time. The teenager teaching herself on a broken church piano. The woman who spent 45 years cleaning floors but never stopped listening. Mitchell, who saw something worth saving. Emily and the other students who reminded her that music is supposed to be shared. Even Bennett, in his own terrible way, who pushed her to prove she belonged. She steps into the light. 2,000 people, every seat filled. The lights so bright she can barely see the audience, which is probably for the best. She walks to the piano, a 9-foot Steinway Grand, the same make as the one in practice room 4C where this whole impossible thing began. She sits down, adjusts the bench, the way Mitchell taught her, the way she's practiced 1,000 times. She looks out at the audience, can barely make out faces in the glare, but then her eyes adjust slightly. Front row, Professor Bennett, arms crossed, face neutral, waiting for her to fail. 3 rows back, Mitchell, leaning forward, smiling, and scattered throughout the hall faces she hasn't seen in years. Her sister, her brother, nieces and nephews, former co-workers, people who got her email and came anyway, despite the impossibility. They came. Lorraine's vision blurs with tears. She blinks them away, places her hands on the keys. The recorded orchestra begins. The opening notes of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2. Those iconic chords that signal something beautiful and heartbreaking is about to unfold. And Lorraine Parker begins to play. For the first minute, she's terrified. Her fingers are stiff. She's slightly off tempo with the orchestra. She hits one wrong note, and her heart lurches. But then something happens. She stops thinking about Bennett, stops thinking about the audience, stops thinking about being 66 years old with arthritic hands and 45 years of lost time. She thinks about her mother. She thinks about that afternoon when she was 7 years old, standing outside a stranger's window, hearing Chopin, and just knowing that music was her destiny. She thinks about all those years cleaning floors, but always finding ways to be near pianos, to listen, to learn, to keep the dream alive, even when it seemed dead. And she pours all of it into the music. Rachmaninoff wrote this concerto during a period of deep depression. It's music about suffering and transcendence, about beauty emerging from pain, about the human spirit refusing to surrender even when surrender seems like the only logical choice. Lorraine understands that in her bones. Her playing becomes something more than technique, more than notes on a page. It becomes 45 years of longing channeled through 10 fingers into 88 keys. The audience feels it. People who came expecting a novelty, the elderly janitor playing at musician, find themselves leaning forward transfixed. This isn't cute. This isn't heartwarming. This is real music played by someone who's lived enough to understand what it means. The piano sings, sometimes whispering, sometimes soaring, sometimes crying out with a pain that has no words. Lorraine's hands move across the keys like they're remembering something they never actually learned. Muscle memory from a life not lived. Dreams made audible. She reaches the second movement, the famous section with the lyrical sweeping melody that's been used in countless films and commercials, but sounds nothing like those shallow interpretations when played with real understanding. This is what her mother heard on the radio all those years ago. Lorraine plays it for her. Tears stream down her face, but her hands never falter. She's crying and playing and somehow doing both without one affecting the other. In the audience, people are crying too. Emily has her hand over her mouth, tears running down her face. Lorraine's sister is sobbing openly. Even hardened music critics find themselves wiping their eyes, startled by their own emotional response. And in the front row, Professor David Bennett's face does something unexpected. It crumbles. The stern, judgmental facade cracks. His arms uncross. He leans forward. And tears he probably hasn't cried in decades slide down his cheeks. Because he's hearing what everyone is hearing. Not just technical proficiency. Not just correct notes. But a human soul laid completely bare. Music that speaks to every regret, every loss, every dream deferred, every moment of wondering what if. His sister. His brilliant, talented sister who gave up music and spent her life regretting it. He's hearing what she might have sounded like if she'd had the courage to choose differently. Or maybe he's hearing that her choice wasn't a surrender, but a different kind of strength. He's hearing Lorraine tell him without words that there's no such thing as wasted time if you eventually find your way home. The third movement. The finale. Rachmaninoff's triumphant, cascading conclusion. This is the hardest part. The part where technique matters. Where weak hands will falter. Where exhaustion will catch up with you. Lorraine's hands hurt. The arthritis is flaring. She can feel her energy flagging. But she's so close. The orchestra builds. The piano answers. A conversation between instruments, between past and present, between the girl she was and the woman she became. The tempo increases. Faster. More intense. The technical demands are brutal, octaves and arpeggios and runs that require perfect precision. Lorraine's hands are flying now, faster than they've ever moved, faster than seems possible for 66-year-old hands that have spent decades in pain. She's not thinking anymore, can't think. There's only the music and the movement and the absolute necessity of finishing what she started. The piece builds and builds, higher, louder, more triumphant. This is Rachmaninoff's answer to depression. This is music that says, yes, life is hard. Yes, you will suffer, but you will also rise. You will also soar. You will also find moments of such transcendent beauty that they justify all the pain. The final cascade of notes. The last powerful chords. Lorraine brings her hands down with everything she has left. The final note rings out. Sustains. Fades. Silence. For 5 seconds, absolute silence. Lorraine sits at the piano, hands still on the keys, chest heaving, not sure if she's still alive or if she's died, and this is whatever comes after. Then the audience erupts. It's not polite applause, it's not even enthusiastic applause, it's a standing ovation that shakes the building. 2,000 people on their feet, clapping, shouting, crying. The applause goes on and on. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes. People are screaming brava. The traditional accolade for female performers, but coming from throats raw with emotion. Lorraine stands shakily and bows. The audience somehow claps louder. She's trembling, can barely stand. Mitchell appears from the wings, helps her stay upright. And then something happens that hasn't happened at a Juilliard recital in living memory. Professor David Bennett stands up, walks to the stage, climbs the stairs. The audience quiets, confused. Is he going to criticize her? Ruin this moment, Bennett walks to Lorraine. This woman he's spent months trying to destroy, this woman who proved him wrong in the most absolute way possible. He takes both of her hands in his, tears streaming down his face. I was wrong, he says loud enough for the front rows to hear. About everything. Forgive me. Then he bows to her. Not a small bow, a deep, formal bow of respect. The audience loses its mind. More applause, more tears, more proof that sometimes, just sometimes, the impossible happens, and everyone gets to witness it. The next morning, Lorraine Parker's story is on the front page of the New York Times. 66-year-old former janitor delivers stunning Carnegie Hall debut. The video goes viral. Millions of views. People around the world watching this elderly black woman play Rachmaninoff with more soul than most professionals manage in a lifetime. She gets calls from concert halls, orchestras, recording studios. Everyone wants the woman who proved it's never too late. But Lorraine turns down most of them. She does accept a few select performances, plays at nursing homes and community centers, and places where people like her, people who thought their dreams died a long time ago, can hear someone say through music that it's not over. It's never over. She graduates from Juilliard at 67, the oldest graduate in school history. Bennett personally hands her the diploma, and when she accepts it, he whispers, "Thank you for teaching me." Mitchell is in the audience applauding like proud parents do. Emily graduates too, and she tells everyone who will listen that Lorraine Parker changed her life, taught her what real dedication looks like. And sometimes late at night, Lorraine sits at a piano. She has her own now, a beautiful upright that Mitchell helped her choose, and plays Rachmaninoff's Concerto number 2. She plays it for her mother, who never got to hear it. She plays it for the 7-year-old girl standing outside a window. She plays it for every person who's ever been told they're too old, too late, too much of a long shot. She plays it for herself. And when the last note fades into silence, she smiles, because she finally got to keep her promise. She finally got to be what she always was underneath all those years of floors that needed cleaning and dreams that needed deferring. She got to be a musician. And nothing, not age, not poverty, not 45 years of loss, could take that away from her now. The little girl from Detroit who heard Chopin through a window finally got to play at Carnegie Hall. And she brought the house down.